Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Barker, the host of the Connector Elders Empowering Aging podcast. Today, I have here with me Brian Painter, the owner of Heritage Senior Care, serving all of San Diego County, as well as going into Riverside. He's going to share more with you about how long the agency has been around, but every time I think about Heritage, I'm just incredibly impressed that they have been around for many, many years, serving our local community in San Diego. Brian, thank you for being my guest today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sarah. It's great to talk with you.
Absolutely. So, for those of you listening, today's podcast is going to be interview style. So, I am going to be asking Brian all kinds of questions so that way we can get to know him and get to know Heritage and learn about non medical home care. So, without further ado, Brian, many in the audience aren't aware, right? You have a unique path, right, before getting into home care. Can you share what motivated you to transition from corporate finance in the healthcare field, but not non-medical home care? So what caused you to make that transition from corporate finance into owning and co-operating a senior care agency?
Yeah, so it is a little bit different of a path, but I think if you go back and ask my grandma, it was like inevitable. So Heritage was started in 1983 by my grandma Gayle and my mom Roni, and so I kind of grew up in the business. I was looking through pictures recently, and I found pictures like me sitting in the office back in the mid 80s. Everything has that tinge to it, and there was that little note under one of them that was like future president. I was like, oh, that was funny. So there was a little bit of a foretelling of that. Um, but
Mhm.
I remember after high school talking to my mom and just wanting to join the company, and she said, no, go do your own thing. Um, and because
Mhm.
it was a tough business and she had been in it for a long time. So I got a degree in finance and accounting, became a CPA, and I worked for a bunch of big corporations doing accounting and finance. So I really learned systems during that time. And I think
Mhm.
that is one of the biggest things coming back to it that I was able to bring into it. So I think having grown up and around it, knowing the needs of the people, but bringing that big company system helped us. That we're hiring sometimes 50 caregivers a year, so doing that the same way every time really helps us get the best in there as we go and not waste our time doing stuff differently every time.
I think that's a huge advantage that you have, the background that you have. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I was reading an article from Home Care CPAs about making sure that you understand your numbers of the agency to basically empower the decision-making process. And it sounds to me like you came in fully equipped to already do that, which is oftentimes a struggle for agency
Yeah.
owners.
No, that was
Mhm.
something that is a really good benefit is that I understood that. So one of the early things I did was look at it like on a client by client basis of are we operating profitably at these? Like we
Mhm.
have to do that so that we can pay our people and continue to grow the business. And
Mhm.
so we've definitely had some where like there's certain clients where we've had them for years and years, and like we aren't operating profitable, but they can't pay anymore, they can't afford to. So we always try
Mhm.
to balance that of making sure that we can continue to operate, but we also
Mhm.
continue to help those people that we've helped out for years and want to continue with.
Yeah, Stephen Tweed, one of my mentors, has a saying, and I believe it came from Mother Teresa, but you've been in it for a while now, and I know one of the hardest things for me to wrap my arms around is the people where they can't afford it, and so we try to get them benefits. But let's say they don't have a veteran status, they can't use those benefits, But for a home care agency, this statement really applies. No money, no mission, meaning you got to stay profitable to keep the business running so that way we can keep helping people.
Yeah, no, I think that is it. So one thing we always try to do is we always try to help however we can. That might be sending someone into the house, it might be connecting them with different resources, but making sure that they have something. So lead them. We have years and years of knowledge and information. Um,
Mhm.
so we take that and make sure that they at least have someone that they can call, or hopefully a couple people that they can call and try to find something that will help and work for them.
Yeah, be a resource, a solutions provider.
Yeah.
So when was the moment exactly where I kind of imagine there was a period of time you're on the fence. Do I really want to make this transition? Maybe I'm really comfortable doing what I'm doing right now because I know it. But
Yeah.
what was the moment where you decided to truly commit long term to senior care?
I think the moment was I connected with so it was one of the couple months into working in the company, and my plan was help for a couple months, maybe 6 months, get it stabilized, and then go back to corporate finance. And I
Hmm.
was talking to the son of one of our clients who we had had for years and years, and he was on the East Coast in the Washington D.C. area, busy, ran a foundation, had a family. His brother was in San Francisco, and dad was here in Carlsbad, home alone. Wife
Mm-hmm.
had passed like a year ago, and he told me just things like having someone there every day helps me sleep at night. I can't be there with my dad, but I know that if something happens to him, someone is there, they will let us know, and we can get him the help that he needs. And it reminded me of during COVID. I was working at the hospital, and it was before the vaccines came out, and we just spent all day, we were trying to figure out COVID testing, bringing in lab machines, and keep our urgent cares open to help our community.
Hmm.
And my wife was pregnant with our daughter, and we just felt stuck there. We didn't feel like we could safely travel. And we had a close family member here that was going through a medical emergency. But we just
Hmm.
felt like our hands were tied. We couldn't do anything,
Hmm.
but knew that we had friends and family here that we could rely on. So it just kind of reminded me of like there's a lot of people that their family isn't close, they're across the country, or they've got their own lives. They've got kids, they have grandkids that they're taking care of. So
Hmm.
we can be that person, be that support for them, and let them sleep at night. That was kind of what did it. Of realized that this was my calling and what I wanted to continue on.
And I love the fact that you guys are family founded and still family operated, still after all these years. So, how many years exactly has it been, right? You said that you guys have been serving families since 1983, right? So, I think we're going on, what, 43 years now?
Yeah, I'm a
I'm
CPA, so I
horrible at
should be better
math.
at that. So 20, uh, yeah, this is our 43rd year in business.
That's
So
just
it is,
incredible.
yeah, it's amazing. Like it helps with just knowing that I can carry on that legacy, and then
Mhm,
having like that support and that foundation lets us kind of be our best every day. That we
mhm,
have a stable book of business, that we're not like we want to be able to help and be able to help people on our terms and their terms. And
mhm.
so it's good just to be able to do that and know that we're giving back.
Yeah, and I know that you will because I'm, pretty closely involved with you guys that a lot of agencies will say, "Oh, it's, we do customized care to clients," but you guys definitely take it seriously. This is a customized creation of care plans honoring who the person actually is, not just what their physical needs are. So, with Heritage being around since 1983, 43 years now, how have you seen the company evolve over the years? Because you were a part of it just as a kid, and
Yeah.
now you're running it.
So I think back to that. So there's been a lot that's changed, but a lot that hasn't. Like what we do day in and day out is essentially the same. We're just more efficient at it. We're not like opening the Thomas Guide and calling someone, leaving a message on their voicemail with turn-by-turn directions. So we have apps now that we can use to do our scheduling and contact our clients and our caregivers. Um, the thing that hasn't changed, like it's a people business. Um, like we are just like we're here to be supports for the clients, for their families, for our caregivers. Um, the thing that like I always loved, so our original motto was "Home is where the heart is."
Mhm,
Um, and so we take this seriously, and so that's what we look for in hiring caregivers and staff. We look for the ones that are drawn to this because like it's their mission as well. Um,
mhm,
there's sometimes it takes more time to find those right ones and vet those, and we only hire 2 or 3% of the caregivers that apply with us.
Mm-hmm.
because we want to have those ones, but it works out long term because the clients love them, they stick around. We have caregivers that have been with us for decades.
I was just
Um,
about to ask you that because I believe when you and I first met, I was kind of asking, well, what makes Heritage different, right? And that was one of the things that was memorable, that you've had the caregivers with you for decades.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
essentially unheard of.
No, we had
Um,
one in our office the other day, and she's been with the same gentleman for, I think, coming up on 9 years, and they are legitimate friends. She said that he's like a second father to her.
mhm,
And I can tell when I talk to him, he cares about her. And
mhm,
if I offered her any other case, like she doesn't want to take it. Like she wants to work with him.
mhm.
And it's so awesome to see that those connections that they build.
It's genuine care, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about, being that in town son, that in town daughter, which aging life care managers usually say. But if somebody doesn't have their adult child who's geographically located to be able to do it, or they're just so busy, like we
Yeah,
mentioned earlier, it's good for that relationship to form. Now, of course, we all know elder abuse is an issue across the United States and everywhere, so it's good for that relationship to form with the proper oversight of an
certainly.
agency, which is what you guys have.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the core values that guide your team, and how do you ensure they're reflected on in the delivery of the daily care?
Yeah, so this is another thank you I want to have for you because we were talking about that. We went through a process last year where we kind of got the whole staff together and went through that goal setting and value setting thing. And we spent half a day doing it. But what we came up with for our values are family, integrity, empathy, accountability, and respect.
Mhm,
And this
mhm,
is just kind of what we make sure that we bring to the table every day. We review this with all of our caregivers and we ask them, is this something that do you share these values? Because
mhm,
if they don't, they're not a good fit for us.
mhm.
But if they do, it's just one of those foundational steps that um, makes us feel comfortable that they're going to bring that love and care and respect to our clients.
I love that. In your opinion, and of course I am biased to you guys, what makes Heritage's approach to in-home care different from other providers?
So it's tough to differentiate because there's a couple hundred different home care agencies in San Diego County, and we're all
Mhm,
limited in scope of what we can do. So we can all do the normal bathing, personal care, dressing, toileting, light housekeeping. Um, like the law limits us to that, and we
mhm,
stay within in those limits.
mhm,
Um, but what we do, since we're family owned and operated, we have the flexibility. We make the rules for how long our shifts are, what shifts we can offer, the timing. Um,
mhm,
so that is kind of where we set ourselves apart and being that person that is going to answer the phone of, we have some clients that they use this periodically as a backup to a family caregiver or transportation to appointments. Um,
mhm,
those ones, like they probably cost us more money than we make from those ones. But it's so fun to be able to like build those relationships and help those people over years that will
mhm,
continue to do those. Um,
mhm.
so we always just talk with everyone of like we want to make sure that you really like our services, you're getting good value for these. There's no
Yeah.
long-term commitments or anything like that. So people should always feel that are getting the best care. And we get
Mhm,
feedback from our families all the time that our caregivers are angels and they're amazing and our staff. So
mhm.
I think we're on the right path.
Yeah, and I don't have here listed in my questions, but I do think it's worth mentioning how many years you guys have been serving veterans throughout San Diego County. We know San Diego is one of the more populated places in the United States with military veterans. And, Heritage, you guys have been contracted or you've been a provider for the homemaker program with the VA for a very long time.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on 8 or 9 years. I think we started in 2017 or 18.
Hmm.
We are a contracted preferred provider with the San Diego Veterans Affair through the
Hmm.
Homemaker program. And so what that means for people that aren't familiar with the Homemaker program, it's a benefit that applies to all of our veterans with ADL needs. There's no financial or asset-based qualifications. If you were a veteran and you need help with one of those things that I just mentioned, the VA will pay for your care,
Mm-hmm.
nothing out of pocket. So it's been wonderful to be able to be a provider and help out. I looked the other day, we're almost at 400 veteran families that we've helped over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And the veterans are all wonderful clients. And so we have recently brought in a veteran liaison that we're using to expand that program to make sure that people know about these
Mm-hmm.
benefits that they've earned and they're entitled to. And we want to be able to give back to them. And so it's been a wonderful program to be able to be involved with.
Yeah, and I would urge anybody in San Diego County listening to this, right? If you think, well, I'm a veteran and I want to learn about this, or my dad, my brother, my uncle, get educated on it. The VA is probably not going to proactively tell you about it.
Yeah.
So I would urge you to reach out to Heritage Senior Care. And something that is setting them apart is that because of the military or veteran experience on Brian's team, it's not like they're just giving the family a list of steps, right? They can actually handhold your loved one through this process and be very educational throughout the entire process to make sure that those benefits, they can benefit from them.
Yeah. Now we do have that list too that we give people, and we just always let them know of here are the
Mm-hmm.
steps. And yeah, if you want to go off on your own, a lot of people just they go through it. Oh, I already have the DDT or the
DD
stem,
214.
yeah, T14. But yeah, so we can provide that as a basic or any level of support of sitting down and filling out that paperwork together over a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
However, people need help, and if they need help navigating the VA system in other ways, of um, our veteran liaison Stephen recently helped someone get a Hoyer lift.
Mm-hmm.
It was $3,000, and they didn't have the funds to pay for it, and he spent hours with them. Going back and forth to VA, but now this client can use this so she can safely get her husband up. He's a big,
Mm-hmm.
tall gentleman, and she was going to hurt herself doing it. So we're always
And
willing to
that,
help and go through
mm-hmm.
that.
And that's what I love about it, because it's not just you guys are simply taking the authorized hours that the VA is giving for the client. It's like, okay, what other resources could they benefit from that we can advocate with the VA to get them, right?
Yeah.
Even outside of the Homemaker program. So anybody that's in this industry, I think would agree that it's very fulfilling, but it can also be very draining, right? And very frustrating sometimes. So how do you balance the emotional and logistical needs of family caregivers and clients? Like, how are you helping them to navigate that?
I think that so the biggest thing that we can help with there is just to listen and help provide guidance. We always tell the people that like call us if you need something. Like being a caregiver, especially a family caregiver, is a thankless job. Um, I think that the people don't often realize how much care and how much time that their spouse or their son or grandson is putting into this,
Mhm.
because they just can't see it, and they're not getting that thank you that they deserve. So I always take the time to thank them for what they're doing. So oftentimes they've never heard that, or it's been very long time. But just being a sounding board and letting them talk, letting them vent, um, because they have their own lives. They have a spouse, they have kids, grandkids, they have a job, and they're
Mhm.
balancing all this while taking often full-time care of their loved one. So we just try to help them avoid burnout too.
Yeah, and I've realized over the years, right, some of the emotions that unless proactively addressed with them, they may not even realize they're feeling or kind of scared to admit it. But the feeling of I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not doing a good enough job, or they have this feeling of shame that they wish they could be doing a better job or doing more for their loved one, but they're pulled in like so many different directions. And so that's where we can come in and as you said, be that sounding board, that emotional support, and let them know that like there can be relief
Yeah.
if they let us help them.
Yeah. I was talking with
Um,
a client yesterday, and she's getting up 3 or 4 times a night to help her husband because he needs to go up. And so we started talking through the options, and we came up upon like having him in depends overnight.
mhm,
And so it works for him. Like he's able to go back to sleep. She's able to do that. But just over the
mhm,
last couple months, as I've been meeting with her, you could just see that, like, I could see instantly in her eyes, like, you haven't been sleeping well. Like, we need to get you more rest. And so
mhm.
that's helped. I talked to her this morning, and she said, she's like, I got 6 hours of sleep last night, and she was ecstatic.
That's a success. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, I like to say when we talk about what we do in home care, of course, we provide professional caregivers, we help with activities of daily living, but I prefer to talk about home care and how we're extending people's lives, because if we
Mhm.
can keep them from being that frequent flyer into the hospitals where it's physically traumatizing, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, the other part of that, when I say we're extending lives, if we can get that family caregiver when it's the sick spouse, well spouse situation, many times that family caregiver in the spousal situation passes away before the person they were caring for, because they start ignoring their own health needs. They're not getting rest, extreme levels of stress. So, through accepting our help through home care, in my opinion, we're able to extend both people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think
okay.
that is something that we've been able to help a ton with. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, give people a little bit of that sense of self back. Because oftentimes people worry about what am I going to do when that person they're caring for does pass away, because they've made that their whole life and identity for so many years. Of being
Mm-hmm.
able to help them during those last weeks or last months, just be their person, just be the daughter to dad, or just be the wife, and not have to be
Mm-hmm.
caretaker too. Lets
Mm-hmm.
people just have those better connections too over the last months of their lives.
It's powerful. So I think, how long has it been, Brian, since you stepped fully into the agency?
So in 2023 is when I fully joined.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've had time to collect some stories, right, from the industry. What stories from the field have shaped your view on senior care now?
So one of them that like sticks with me over the most recent one is it was a near 24/7 case, someone that we had served for years, and I became very close with her daughter over the last couple months of her life,
Mhm,
and we would talk a couple times, not often about the care, usually just like I was her venting board. She'd
mhm,
taken over her mom's care, she was managing it, she would travel from Northern California a couple times a month.
mhm,
Um, and then after her mom passed, I call her every couple weeks just to check in on her.
mm.
And then she told me, she's like, it was really hard because like I lost my mom, but then I lost all these caregivers too that I knew. And I felt that we had done like a really good job helping support, but then at the end of it, she just felt like everyone kind of just went away. Um, and so it was like a red flag or something to me of we need to find out ways that we can help provide more resources for that, for here's what to expect, here's what to happen, and how
Yeah.
to hold people's hand through that process more if they'll allow us.
I've never, so there's the first person that comes to mind for me locally in San Diego would be, Elizabeth Ooslander, Empowered Endings, Dr. Bob
Mhm.
Ooslander, or right, if that client were to be on hospice. But I think you said she was geographically separated. So, I love the idea of maintaining contact with the family members, even post death, right, of the client. And I don't know that I've ever heard of a home care agency that puts some sort of structure in place to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing that. We use our new system to put reminders in because like it's hard, we get busy. Um,
Mhm,
but yeah, those are relationships that we've built, and we
mhm.
want to just like check in on those friendships, just like you should of the friends you've had for years and years, of
Yeah.
having those reminders. And one thing that I try to do with like both personal and business is you're driving, and you're like, oh, I should text so and so. Like I'm really trying to do that. Of I'm in the phone for 20 minutes. Why don't I just call them and say hi?
Yeah.
And it's made some really like nice phone calls that wouldn't have happened.
There's a CPA in town that I've known forever, and I coined it. Somebody told him to do it, which was make a point that when you think of someone every single day, call somebody, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be focused on business. More than likely it'll be somebody through business, but it's just a say hello phone
Hmm.
call, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Who doesn't
Um,
love to get one of those? Hey, I was
right.
thinking of you and I called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you guys are kind of putting a program around that for
Yeah.
the family members of clients that pass away. I think that that's a big differentiator, and I think that it's just thoughtful and the right thing to do. Okay, so let's talk about long-term care insurance. We wish, I'm sure, that every family we come across had a long-term care insurance policy, but that's just not the reality. I know in my years, I've had situations where it turns out mom did have a policy, but mom forgot she had a policy, and the children don't exactly know what it says in the policy, right? So I would encourage anybody in senior care, when you do get a referral and you're doing an assessment, try to dig a little bit deeper. Like, if you ask them if there's a policy and they just say no, ask a few more questions to see if maybe they worked for a certain company in which they did
Mhm.
get that type of policy, or there is one and it's just been forgotten about or misplaced. But Brian, why is long-term care insurance policy review an important offering, and what common misunderstandings do families have about it?
I think that one of the biggest reasons it's important is because they don't make it easy. The insurance companies, like they want to offer these and sell them. They don't always want to pay out on them. And so it's complicated language. You might call and be on the phone for 45 minutes. Um, and yeah, it's just confusing. A lot of times when people come to us, it's in times of distress too, where just those basic concepts are just hard to process because they're dealing with so much on a day-to-day basis. So
Mhm,
that's why I always like to, if we can, have a copy of the policy, go back
mhm,
to my desk, shut the door, and read through it, and then make some notes on it. Um, Call the insurance company, and then be able to explain back to the families, here's exactly what they'll pay for it. There
mhm,
may be a deduction period where for the first 90 days, they're not going to pay for anything. And then there's also some gotchas in there that are it's if it's calendar days or service days.
mhm.
So one thing I find a lot of the times is people have these policies in for years, but when they find out that they have to pay for the first 90 days, it kind of slows them down. They don't want to put a claim in. They'll start doing the care anyways, but they won't
Mhm.
use it towards the benefit. So just trying to help people be proactive and think about that is benefit.
Yeah, so I'll explain it this way. That happened quite a bit, right? When I would be doing assessments, you'll hear, well, I don't really want to use it until I really need it. That elimination period, right? There are some circumstances where they can waive that requirement, but for the most part, you're going to have to get through that elimination period. And what that means for all of the adult children or seniors listening, if you need support during that elimination period, you have to pay out of pocket for that support. So, what I want you to consider is that it's better to pay out of pocket during that elimination period when you need just a little bit of support, right? So, maybe I'm just going to say 12 hours a week, okay? Versus waiting until you think you really want to use it and some sort of crisis happens. And now all of a sudden you're having to pay out of pocket for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is a huge, huge cost difference between that. So just always be taking that into consideration. But if you're in San Diego County, right, and if you simply want Brian to review your policy or the policy for your mom or dad, that doesn't mean you're signing up for services. He can just help you understand the policy. And I would say for anybody that's listening in other parts of the country, you should be able to find a reputable professional caregiving agency that would be willing to do the same thing for you. And if you don't know anyone, let me know and I'll connect you. But start understanding the particulars of the policy if you have one sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
Brian,
I'm
do you have
always
anything
happy
else you want on
to
that?
sit down and review that with somebody. And of course, there's no obligation. I want people to understand what they have and what their
Mhm.
benefits are, and then put that into their planning of how they are going to utilize that. It's always
Mhm.
best if you can do that before, and then have some triggers set like, okay, if I can't do X, Y, or Z, then we need to start using this policy and bring in some help into the house rather
Mhm.
than in a crisis trying to figure out, yeah, where is that paperwork and what does it cover and who is the name of it?
Yes, exactly. Proactive. What shifts are you seeing in senior care needs today compared to 5 to 10 years ago?
So we're seeing that it's kind of continued on with like people are getting more help now and utilizing help for longer.
Mhm.
People are generally more open to it, and I think a lot of it is the adult children are starting to see that. I think with COVID, I think everything a lot changed with us, and I think people are starting to realize that like life is limited and short and we want to make the most of it.
Mhm.
And a lot of those conversations are coming from the adult children of, hey, I think you need someone to come help a little bit. And we often see struggles with that of
Mhm.
it's very clear that this person needs help, but it's, I imagine, hard to get have your son or daughter who you've seen make mistakes and tell you now like, hey, here's how you need to live after you've lived for 75 or 85 years. Often bringing a home care company in who is impartial and can make an assessment helps convince that person for like, hey, you're not doing it because they told you to, but like maybe do this because it will help them sleep at night. um, and have those conversations with both generations.
Yes. And again, I want to encourage anybody listening, like if you just want to start learning, if you're in San Diego and you just want to start learning about what options exist, right? Maybe you're an adult child, call Brian, because my hope, right, before you even go to your mom or dad or your mom and or dad, get a little bit of coaching from somebody in our industry on the best ways that you can approach that conversation. What is a good way to talk about it, questions to ask, and what you should not say, which is, "You're done driving, Dad. I'm taking your keys today." That's just one example. So anybody that's been in this industry for a period of time, call us just to get some advice, right? Just because you call Heritage Senior Care doesn't mean that we're expecting for you to sign up for services tomorrow, right? So we can help prep you for that conversation and all along the way. And then Heritage can certainly be there in the living room to discuss the services. And this is just based on experience. Your mom and dad's probably going to be more accepting of it if Brian or Steven from his team is having the conversation with them versus you as the adult child trying to tell them what to do.
Yeah, we often find of a lot of people will like, mom and dad need help, but they're really stubborn. I would say that 90% of the people we talk to, like, that is a very common thing to hear. And so
Mhm.
having someone else come in helps. Um, and yeah, if mom or dad is going to need help in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, like we hope to be around at that time to be able to help them.
Mhm.
And so we're happy to take the time now and talk with families and make that plan, because there's a lot of different questions of, do people want to age at home? Do they want to go into a senior living community? That's all
Mhm.
stuff that we can help them navigate and then open them up to all the different service options that are out there and then have a
Mhm.
plan for those and kind of know, here are the next steps. If mom goes to the hospital or she can't put her shoes on, or if
Mhm.
there's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, we already have a plan and then we just put it into effect.
Right. And this is what we would call proper professional care planning.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but I think it sets the stage for this next question, which is, how has technology changed the way you deliver care and what tech trends are you watching? And I remember when we first started working together, the way that caregivers had to apply, right, if they were interested, which I know that you guys have gotten updated, but you coming in to an agency that has been around for 43 years, I would imagine that you saw numerous areas where you're like, hey, there's a technology for this now.
There is. So I've kind of vacillated on this because when I started, we used an application that was a PDF that had been scanned and faxed and rescanned. Some of the pages were a little bit sideways, and I found that like we weren't getting much response from that. Like that worked for us in the past, but it wasn't working for today's caregiver. And so we've tried a couple different things. We went from that to doing like a DocuSign type thing, and then went another step and went with like an AI onboarding recruiter. And so it made me like really excited because I like technology. I like to try all these new things out, and it didn't work. Our We tried it out for a month, and our rate of caregiver applications dropped tremendously. And
Interesting.
so we went back to kind of that in between of people start by applying on our website, and we have a very
Mhm.
simple application for any caregivers that are out there, heritageseniorcare.com/careers. If you're great, please apply. Um, and so we kind of are in between now. We have an easy application, and then one of our staff here, who are amazing, Elle or Alexis, they get on the phone and they talk to these people.
Mhm.
And we can really sense out in that first call um, by just the voice we're getting, the answer to the questions, and we're asking the
Mhm.
questions too of why do you want to do this? Uh,
Mhm.
and we really look for those people that they want to do this because they're connected with it and their heart's in it. Um, so that's what we do. So we kind of vacillate back and forth. I do think, though, um, over the next couple years, that more technologies, AI coming in. We do use some AI in our call center that tracks notes from caregivers,
Mhm.
and it identifies trends. So um, people putting in notes that someone is using the restroom more often overnight. The system flags it, and we can check on that and then get them into the doctor earlier for a possible UTI. So we
Mhm.
use those. We've looked at some that have like listening devices in the home, and it might help, but I don't think people are comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Um, so we go back and forth on what we do for technology.
You know, I think, right, we can all agree there's so many different technologies now, so many different softwares that exist, and they're worth exploring. But I think it's really important for a home care agency not to ever lose sight of the foundational principles that are important to a home care agency, which is the people, the caregivers, the backbone, right? I call them the front lines of an agency. And how do we treat our people, right? How are we investing into the staff? Which leads me, Brian, I think one of your staff members, Stacy, hasn't she been with you for a very long time?
Yeah, she just celebrated her 20th anniversary with us. So when I first got into the industry, I like was looking at trends, and I think the average staff member is with someone for 18 months. Um, and so like we've had a huge tenure, or a huge amount of staff that has a really long tenure.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look up our caregivers, but multiple caregivers that I can think of, probably at least a dozen, have been with us over 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we always talk to them and try to get feedback, try to grow. Like our goal is never to be the biggest, but we do want to be the best. We want to be the best caregivers. We want to hire the best caregivers, be the best employer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal and just what we try to strive for every day.
I love that. Uh, so going back to this concept, because that's what the Empowering Aging podcast is all about, which is this proactive education out to people that need to start understanding senior care resources, right? So Heritage Senior Care is non-medical home care. But those of you listening, it's important to understand that they take the approach of, yes, non-medical home care, otherwise called caregiving services. That is what they do. But they've taken the time to get to know the other resources, right, in the industry. So if there's a need outside of what they do, they're able to navigate you to that appropriate resource, right? This is a team effort around the senior to make sure they get everything that they need. So what advice, Brian, would you give families who are just beginning to navigate aging options for their loved ones?
I think find a local professional the company's been around for a while and they've been doing it, and ask them for help. I think people that are in this industry, they want to help, even if you're never going to be a client, like we want to be able to help people navigate this process. And I'm
Mhm.
kind of blown away just of how much is out there. Like I'm learning more like every single day about new programs that are available. Um, and all of these things. So at first it felt like caregiving was our little silo, and we had the doctor, and then we had the emergency room. But there's so many more. There's dozens and dozens of support areas
Mhm.
that we've taken the time to build relationships with, and be able to help people navigate and kind of see some of those early warning signs of, this person might be a candidate for home health. Let's refer them to someone that is an expert in that and that we know, like, and trust in
Mhm.
any of those areas. So we always give out a list when we meet with families of all the different areas that we have these trusted experts in. And we
Mhm.
ask them, if you need anything, like, call us and let us know, and we can refer you to someone that we know, like, and trust, and not just send you off to Google. I
Right.
talked to the nephew of a new client. I'm going out to her house later this afternoon. But the nephew is in the panhandle of Texas, and he's worried about his aunt who's in her 90s and lives alone. And I just told him about all these things and said, like, if she needs a handyman, call us and we will find someone to go out and help with that sort of stuff because, yeah, he's 1,000 miles away and we're right here in the backyard. Let us help out however we can.
Right. And you've already vetted the resources,
Yeah.
right? So if you operate this way as an agency, that is just increased value to the client and the family, right? Home care is the lane, but taking this approach where you have other resources saves that family so much time and stress and headaches.
Yeah, people don't know what they don't know. So if we can, sometimes people will call and they'll describe some different service that we don't offer. And
Hmm.
we always make sure to, like, connect them with someone. Don't just hang up the phone. Say, hey,
Hmm.
let me either like three-way call and get you connected with this person. But
Hmm.
don't send them back to the Google rabbit hole.
Exactly. Okay, so this industry can be challenging. There's really, really high days, and then there's some very stressful days, right? It's a people business. So what keeps you motivated on those challenging days?
So there's a quote from Marcus Aurelius that has always stuck with me. He was a Roman Empire like 2,000 years ago,
Hmm.
and kept all these personal journals. And so I have it written down on my desk. So it's at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to do work as a human being. What do I what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? These things that I was brought into the world to do. Of like every day it's just like get up. So I do that for work, I do that for my family,
Yeah.
because like we're here and it is what brings me joy and makes me feel fulfilled at the end of the day.
Do you find, right? Because everybody has bad days. Everybody has challenging days, right? I find that even when I'm not feeling like doing it, but if I force myself to do it, like that quote, you end up feeling better versus if you didn't do it and you just sit there and kind of like wallow in the fact that it's a bad day.
Yeah. No, there's certainly times where I'm like, okay, I need to make this call and I don't want to do it, and I'll push it off and push it off and push it off. I don't always do it, but I try to do it. Like that thing that you're dreading, like do
Yeah.
it first. It's the hardest, and like either you knock it out in that first 15 minutes or you spend the entire day or week dreading it. So do yourself a favor and just do it soon.
Which just creates more anxiety.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Okay, any mentorship or leadership lessons that you lean on regularly?
I think the biggest one is just like keep showing up and be willing to do any of the work that you ask your team to do.
Mhm. You are a very involved owner, and I think that a very available owner, and I think that makes a huge difference to how the staff feel supported. and how hard they work for you, right?
Yeah,
Because if they see the leader involved.
yeah, I need to take a moment to thank all my staff. So like the staff that we have is amazing. There's a small amount of us here in the office, but we have Stacy who handles our billing and payroll, Alexis and Elle who do the recruiting and the staffing, and then Stephen who's helping out as our client liaison of bringing new families on. And I wake up every day just thankful for all of them and so happy that I get to work with such an amazing team.
Well, they all adore you too.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about a bunch of different things in today's podcast, but what is one thing you hope listeners take away from your story and your work?
I think just like figure out a way to help contribute. Like everyone has a unique set of skills. Like figure what that is like in the world of what you can do, and just kind of it's like back to that old Boy Scout motto of like when you go camping of like leave the place better than you found it. Like
Mhm.
figure out what you can do and help and just help contribute to the world. It's not going to likely be this huge thing, but it can be a huge thing for a small set
Mhm.
of people.
That's beautiful. All right, Brian. So if somebody is interested in a complimentary care needs assessment, so by the way, any families listening, you can get a care needs assessment done, right? Heritage Senior Care will have a phone call with you. They'll come out. They'll do an assessment. That is complimentary, right? No obligation, at least to kind of see the baseline, right? And what might be needed. You may not need home care right now, but it may be identified that you need to make some changes to the home so the home is more safe. And then we've got resources for you for that. Okay. So Brian, if anybody's interested in learning more, how can they contact you and get more information on Heritage Senior Care?
Yeah, so you can reach us. Our phone number is 760-720-7740. Or you can visit our website, heritageseniorcare.com. And if you're in the Southern California area, happy to help and come out to the house and talk with you, talk with your parents, whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're somewhere else, still call, we'll connect you, or Sarah will connect you. We'll make sure that you have someone that can help.
Thank you. And Brian, since you are an owner who discovered that you actually enjoy doing marketing too, what sort of professionals within San Diego County are you wanting to get connected with?
Yeah, so Sarah, you recommended for so long that I should get out there and do marketing and kind of like drug me into it. But it's been great and I really enjoy it and being able to do that. And I realized too that just helps build up our network so much. My goal for this year is to be more of a resource for financial planners, administrators, fiduciaries. Um,
Mhm.
they're great professionals that do really well at what they do, and I want to be able to bring our knowledge over
Mhm.
so we can help them and their clients make plans for what happens when they need care. How much is it going to cost? How long are they going to need the different care options? I
Exactly.
have a worksheet that I've just put together that I'd be happy to share with any of those groups, just to be able to plan for some of that.
Yes, and my message to any financial planners, trust officers, attorneys, CPAs, right? All of you guys on that side of things, think of it as we, right, Brian, we're kind of a member of that advisory team around that client. So in the center, right, my fake client's name is Reese Miller. And around Reese Miller, she's got all of her healthcare people, right? Primary care physician, more than likely some specialty doctors. But what about her financial planner, her estate planning attorney? I mean, maybe she's got a fiduciary as well. But senior care, more and more people are living longer. Cost is becoming more expensive. You really need a member of that advisory team around, right? Miss Reese here in the middle to be able to give you guys information. It helps you guys to guide your clients better if we can provide some education from our perspective of things, like what is the true cost of aging in place? And that's just one basic consideration.
Yeah. No, bring us in as a part of that team to help out. And I think it's gonna help you too look more connected with your clients of that you also have this resource and this network that you can bring in to help with any specific areas.
100%. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being our guest on the Connect Your Elders Empowering Aging podcast. Anybody that's listening, I will be downloading this and uploading it to the YouTube channel. And I will share direct contact information for Heritage, so that way it's easy for you to reference. Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah. One more thing, just while I have you, that I want
Mhm.
to do. So one thing I've learned over the past couple of years of doing assessments is how important hearing is to seniors.
Mm,
I saw this a couple times recently with basically the same version of the different client year after year, and started doing more research into it. So hearing loss doubles your chance of having cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia,
mhm,
Parkinson's. Hearing loss also triples your likelihood of social isolation, which
mhm,
then triples your likelihood of getting those. So as you start to lose hearing, please look into hearing aids. It gets harder and harder as the hearing gets worse and worse. But I do think that getting that can help keep people together with their families,
mhm.
engaged in the conversation, and help avoid and mitigate some of that risk of cognitive decline.
Brian, fantastic topic. And I think what you need to do is put together a little slide deck and then come back on the Empowering Aging podcast, and we'll do a whole session just on that educational topic for families.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone that was listening. Or if you chime in later, I hope you have a beautiful day. And Brian, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great day.
You too.